Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti's.
Hello, I'm Jason.
And we are here at Jason's raised beds, and we're doing something a little bit different this year. Jason has decided that he would like to plant some dahlias for cut flowers.
Yep.
Because they're your favorite.
They are.
Okay. And so that's a little bit different from last year because you were all veggies.
Yeah, there's roughly almost 400 square feet worth of veggies, and I wanted to do something a little bit different so I could have a cutting garden and as well as a pollinator garden, not only to have something obviously pretty to look at, but it also does two things: helps the pollinators out, also helps your garden out too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to talk to you today about tender bulbs. So these are the bulbs that you can actually plant in spring if you want to give them a head start, which is a really good idea in Northeast Ohio. Granted, weather is cooperating right now. So we have a beautiful April day. We're out here. We're actually potting up different tender bulbs. So these bulbs are things like Calla Lilies, okay? We have Canna Lilies as well. We have Gladiolas. We have Dahlias. We have pineapple lilies, okay? And also the elephant ears here. So just an example of all the different tender bulbs that you can plant for summer color and of course foliage interest. But the thing about it is with your tender bulbs, you want to dig them and store them in the fall. So we're going to go through the whole series, but obviously today we planted. So what we like to do is we'd like to start these tender bulbs early in pots, okay? Gives them a jump start on the growing season so you can get flowering a lot faster. So what we started with is we actually planted the Calla Lily first. Calla Lily corms are real round, real, I don't know, like $50 size,
and
okay?
flattened.
Yeah, sort of flattened, right? And real easy to tell the top from the bottom because the top's going to have a little bud starting, a little eye looking at you. And so what we did is we filled up a 1 gallon container halfway with soil. We used about a heaping tablespoon of bulb tone, put that in the soil, put the corm down on top, the Calla Lily, and then we just covered it with about 2 inches of soil, okay? Callas don't need to be super deep. They do just fine. And then leaving, I always like with the bulbs especially, always like to leave a good inch or so of watering space. Because at the end here, we've got to go through and water, and we want to make sure that the soil doesn't bubble over, okay? So it's got about an inch or so of water space so we can go in and make sure that water is going right into the potting soil. We use potting soil because your tender bulbs, they do want to have a good draining soil. If you keep your bulbs too moist, too wet, they obviously are going to rot, and then you won't get the results that you want. So potting soil is pretty crucial with them. The canna tubers are a little bit bigger. Any of your cannas, they can take a little bit more depth. So again, we did fill the pot up halfway. This is about a 1.5 gallon that we have here.
And it's actually like right down here.
Yeah, planted deeply. But again, we put the potting soil in the bottom, put the bulb tone in, planted the tuber, and then again, it's really 1 canna tuber per pot. Well, we'll use them in 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons usually to give them some space, and then fill up with the rest with potting soil, give them a good watering space, and they'll pop up as well. The next thing are gladiolas. Gladiolas are little corms. They're not as little as a crocus. They're about, I would say, maybe double the size of a crocus, but they look very, very similar.
Almost like an onion.
Almost like an onion. They have a real thick skin on them. So if the tunic is on there and it looks nice and healthy, which is that skin, that's a great sign that they're going to do real well for you. Pointy side up again. and their eye will usually stick up. And we forgot to mention with the cannas, you sometimes see the eye, sometimes you don't, but they'll right themselves regardless if you plant them upside down. And that's really with most bulbs, but if you can find the eye and stick them up, that's always a good thing to start. And then gladiolas, we actually put 3 in a 1-gallon pot. They're small, they're compact. When they come up leaves and stem and come straight up. So they don't really block, a neighboring bulb, if you will. So they usually fit in a good small space. Did the same procedure, half full of soil, bulb tone, and then covered up with soil. Now, the dahlias are a little bit different, and Taylor's gonna show you this. Dahlias are a tuber.
They're like a cluster tuber under a stem.
Yes, under a stem. So you have this big woody stem that you want to just leave at the top of the potting soil, and we'll show you that. But what happens is you can plant them kind of low in the pot. So you'll see we haven't filled basically these pots are half full of potting soil, okay? These are 2-gallon pots. We use 1 tuber in each 2-gallon pot. So they take up some space, okay? And then what we did is we kind of nestled the tuber in, just covering the tubers and letting the stem just stick out right out the top level of the potting soil.
And that's down here, your dahlias, because a lot of them, the flowers physically are very heavy. A lot of your dahlia tubers are going to need about 6 inches underneath your soil line to really keep them from flopping over and to help strengthen the stem and give them the support that they need.
Right. And actually Jason's going to continue to fill this potting soil up and fill the pot up with soil, because as that stem grows, you keep filling, okay? And that just adds to the stem support. The last couple that we did some pineapple lilies. They're real exotic, really fun summer blooming bulbs.
They are super cool.
Yeah, they really are. And so we did a couple of the pineapple lilies, same way, half full of soil, bulb tone, put the lilies in. They're kind of a big bulb, very similar to like an elephant ear bulb. They're sort of stacked with layers. And then the last one, and I wanted to bring you, just to show you one of the elephant ears. This is actually Aloha elephant ear, but you could also pot up your elephant ears now early, give them some space. 3-gallon pot is really good, which this one is in, and they will fill out. They really do take up quite a bit of space. There are some dwarf varieties, don't get me wrong, but most of them can really eat up some soil.
So with those, the bigger the pot, the better. Again, it's physically what you can manage. But I mean, if you got a big chunky pot, one of those in a 5-gallon, 7-gallon pot that looks nice the bigger the pot, will really reward you with a nice, full, lush-looking plant.
For sure. And then, of course, when you're done planting, you're going to water everything. Again, keep them slightly moist to slightly dry. You really don't want them to be soaking wet ever. And keep them in a lot of sun. Now, the weather is cooperating for us, so you could literally keep them outside until we drop down, again, below the 40-degree mark. And it will probably happen because, again, it's April in Northeast Ohio. So if the temperatures drop back down below the 40-degree mark, that's when you're going to want to bring them in, garden shed, garage, the house, what have you, and take care of them inside until the temperatures start to increase again. Lighting is pretty crucial with these. They all do prefer to be in a high light when you're getting them started, and of course protected. And then at that point, when we move into May, and we're at a safe planting date, which is usually mid-May to end of May for most of us in Northeast Ohio. These plants will already be started, popped up, and Jason can go ahead and plant them in his raised garden bed. So he'll be ready to go for some cut flowers and some pollinator attractors, of course. So that's basically tender bulb planting. And then we'll come back a little bit later in the growing season and show you more.